Good evening, everybody. I'm Captain Jim Sharp. This is my little wife, Meg, beside me here. We're getting ready for this wonderful Zoom program. All you Zoomers here, ready for this program on the second reel of the Bowdoin story by Donald MacMillan. And we, of course, are the world famous Sail Power Steam Museum. See if I can get this thing. There we go. You know the Sail Power Steam Museum down on the south end of Rockland, Rockland's finest maritime museum. My wife and I started it 15 years ago, and it's been growing and growing ever since. Much of this you've already seen if you've seen Reel 1, and I'm going to skip through quite a lot of it a little bit quickly, the introduction here, so we can get right to Reel 2. There's the man of the hour right there. That's Admiral Donald MacMillan, all dressed up in his Arctic uniform. Amazing man. Of course, he started out in 1908. I'll get it together here pretty soon. 32 years old, he went to the Arctic, and first thing he did was team up with Robert Peary. They went up to plant the flag on the very top of the world, and he had frozen feet at that time, so he couldn't go, but that's where he was bitten by the Arctic bug. Donald MacMillan, amazing, amazing man. And this is Reel 2. Of course, Reel 1, I put up the website there, the YouTube site for Reel 1. If you haven't seen Reel 1, you've got to go back and see that, because that gives you a little better indication of the past. Of course, Donald MacMillan spent a long time way up in the northern part of Greenland. 4 years he was up there, and he had a lot of time to think. He thought about what he would do when he got back to the United States after that sojourn up there looking for Crockerland. And he decided he was going to build a vessel, and this is the vessel here that he built. And isn't she a beautiful thing? A cunning little schooner, 88 feet long, of course, built so beautifully so that she can dodge the ice cakes and go in and out of the fjords all the way up the Greenland shore and all over Labrador, and explore the Arctic. Back in the 1920s, nobody knew very much about the Arctic. Nobody had any charts. They didn't have any very good geography or anything to go by back in those days. But that's amazing. And he decided he was going to do it. Well, we got to get through the commercial first. I'm going to do the commercial rather quickly because it's just a repeat of what's on the Reel 1, the other one that we put up 2 weeks ago. This is our new building, of course. We have wonderful boats given to us. We have a big steamboat in there. We've got the Light Horseman that discovered Penobscot Bay in 1605. And we've got a whole parcel of Herreshoff 12.5s, Beetle Cats, and a great conglomeration of Optimus Prams. A lot of other boats in there. People give us boats all the time. Last spring, year ago spring, we were given this beautiful vessel, Morning in Maine, and we're doing cruises through Penobscot Bay, out to Penobscot Bay, Rockland Harbor, a couple of lighthouses. Wonderful, wonderful, good man there, Captain Tyler Watterson. He's very engaging, and he'll give you a great cruise at Rockland Harbor. So try it out. I do want to take a little bit of time with my skiff program. This makes me all warm and fuzzy all over. The skiff, SKFF, Sail Kids for Free. And you know that we do this. We take these little kids, look on day one, they don't know anything about a boat. We teach them, well, first thing we do is take their telephone away from them. Put their telephone in a drawer. Then they jump in the boat, one boat to a kid, one kid to a boat, and they have to grab the tiller, they have to grab the sheet, and they have to learn how to sail. Otherwise, they don't go anywhere. And their buddies in the next boat, so of course they got to outsail him. They got to do it. They just soak it up like a sponge, and they get out there. The second day, they're sailing. Third day, they turn the boat over and right it up again. Fourth day, they're out there sailing like mad, racing each other. And by the fifth day, they were real sailors. And they know what they're doing, and they're trying desperately to be out in front. This is the way we do it. We have a little guarantee that we give to you. If you give us $100, everybody this day and age can afford $100 with inflation the way it is. Give us $100, and we'll match your $100 with another kid. We'll get 2 kids out in the boat for $100. And just multiply it out. $200, 4 kids, $300, all the way up to $500. Take a whole class full and put these kids out on the water. they just learn all kinds of wonderful things once they learn sailing, and they want to continue it on and on. And I want you to know that we can't do it without you. We've got insurance to buy, we've got our staff to pay, and we've got lots of maintenance to connected with this kids program. But I'm bound and determined to get it up, offer this to the community, free kids, a whole week sailing for nothing. And we couldn't do it without you. So don't pay any attention to these figures. Just send us as much as you can. Send it to us until it hurts, and we'll get these kids out and do some goods for them. If I should put this down, if you're an adult, sail a classic. Come and sail a classic. If you are a sailor and you don't want to have the expense and the obligation to have a boat, get in touch with us. We'll put you in our class here. If you're not a true sailor, we'll teach you how. We can put an instructor with you. And if you are a really good sailor, you can take the boats out yourself. 2 Friendship sloop, a parcel of Herreshoff 12.5s and Beetle Cats and all these different ones. They're at your disposal. Get in touch with us. Another thing we offer the community is our Sunday Jam. Yesterday, we had 18 people in the audience and 11 musicians serenading them. And it was a really nice jam. We get banjos, we get all kinds of different mountain dulcimers, all kinds of different guitars and so on, fiddles, and it's great fun. Come on over Sunday afternoon, free coffee and free tunes. If you have a bunch of friends you want to have a big dinner with or a big lunch with, come down and rent our tent. We have this great huge tent right down on the beach where you can cook some hot dogs and well, you know, have a big lobster or anything you want to do down there. Invite 150 people over for lunch. That's the way you do it. Now let's get going here. This is the program again. There's Donald MacMillan, 250,000 miles this man has sailed that old Bowdoin all around the Arctic there. Some say even more than that, but 250,000 is a pretty good start, I would say, wouldn't you? He's really an amazing, absolutely amazing man, knows more about the Arctic back in those days, the 1920s, than any other man alive, I'm sure. That's true. He decided that when he was up there in northern part of Greenland for 4 years, absorbing the culture, absorbing the language, absorbing everything about the Inuit, the northern Eskimo there. And he had a lot of time to think, and he thought, what I want is a small boat, 88 feet long, something that we can get in and out of these little small places, a rugged boat that we can ground her out and she can take the abuse that we know she's going to have being a research vessel in the Arctic where there are no charts and you have no idea what you're on until you run over it. And by then it's too late to back off. Usually they have to wait for the tide. But there's the old Bowdoin there, a swan in the water down at East Booth Bay, down at Hodgson Brothers, where they built that boat in 1920-21. And he headed off to the north. He headed off to, of course, he bites off a big chunk. He headed right off to the very furthest north that he could go on the Greenland shore. And he went with a whole bunch of ologists here, all biologists, zoologists, archaeologists, and genealogists, and I think they have a botanist or two in there too. They're all going up there and they're going to spend the winter up there and research the Arctic. They're going to do research all through the dark winter. So off they go, way up north, way up as far north as you can get. I don't know what this other thing is on here. I'd like to get rid of that. There. Right up on the very northern part of Greenland, you can see Etah up there. Etah is a wonderful little place right here. She's the furthest north community settlement, and he went further than that. He went right up into here, right into this little place called Refuge Harbor. Little tiny place that's right on the edge of the polar ice cap. There's no navigating up in there. The Smith Sound's as far as you can get in the north, and that's just in the summertime, of course. But that's where he went, way up the northern part of Greenland. There's the old guy there standing up on the cross trees directing where they're going and how they're doing it. with the old ice barrel. That's where the men would sit in that ice barrel in order to seek leads in the ice. Into this little place, this little tiny harbor called Refuge Harbor. Now, of course, when the Bowdoin arrived there, he's friendly with all the Inuit up there, all the polar Eskimos up there in the northern part of Greenland, because he spent 4 years up there. And they all know him. All they heard the Bowdoin was in, my God, they all came down. They set up their tents on the beach there, and they decided they would spend the winter with MacMillan in this little harbor. So as winter approached, winter came on them. Of course, the snows came down. They banked this vessel up with snow. They built igloos on deck, and they camped there all winter long as they went ashore and did their research all through the dark night. And you can see that ice is all broken up on the edge there where they have tide. Tide comes in at 10 feet of tide and breaks the ice and makes moguls right along the shore. Come spring, of course, they wanted to get out of there 335 days. They spent 335 days in the ice in that spot. And come spring, they're still iced in. Got to go to the first reel of this saga, and it'll tell you what the vicissitudes they went through trying to get that boat out of that ice-locked little tiny harbor there. You can see that the ice melted around the vessel where they would throw the coal. They had a coal stove in there. They'd throw the coal overboard and it would draw the sun and eat the ice up so that she had a little pool of water she was sitting in then come spring. What a time they had getting out of there. Of course, they got her aground. The poor old Bowdoin, she was aground over and over and over again. She had no charts. They had no way of knowing what the bottom looked like. Anyway, when they tried to get out of there, it was a terrible time of it. And the old vessel fell on her side there. And of course, every time she turned around, she was in the ground in another place. And you can see that kind of thing. The vessel had to be very, very strong in order to withstand this kind of punishment. It's a wonder there was anything left of her, really. Some of the places they went to were absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, beautiful fjords like that. And in the summertime, the water's not so cold and the ice is pretty well gone in most places other than the great big bergs that they have that come drifting by. But there are scenes like this that are just spectacular. Well, MacMillan went on and on until 1953. He was well up into his 80s and he decided that he would retire. Not to know what to do with the vessel, he decided they would give it to Mystic Seaport Museum. So they had a big hoopla. They took the vessel over there in 1959. Mystic Seaport accepted the vessel, but for some reason or other, they were unable to put the whole program together, and the poor vessel suffered there. She was languished around Mystic Seaport for almost 10 years, 9 years she was there, and they never did any work to her. And the poor old thing, she's getting to be an elderly vessel by this time, you know, and she started to take the abuse, and they never covered her over. They never put any oil on her decks. It didn't help her out. Well, finally, they decided they would let it go. MacMillan called me up and he said, Jim, I called him up, I should say, in 1967. And he said, Jim, what can you do? I said, I can take her to Maine, Mac. He said, well, you grab her, take her to Maine and see what you can do for her. So here she is laying at my dock in Camden. The Adventure on the outside of her here. This is the springtime. We're getting ready to outfit the Adventure for the summer season. You can see the poor old boat and the rails coming off of her, buoy coming over. That deck right there, that foredeck was in terrible condition, leaking down through the vessel. And the poor old thing, I decided, well, the first chance we get, we've got to do something for her. So the first thing we had to do was tear that foredeck off and the brake beam. Of course, where the decking had met the brake beam, it was the worst. Oh my God, the rot had fostered down there. So that we just had to tear the whole brake beam out, took the galley house off here to get at it, and put new brake beam in her. And well, you can see we were tearing the deck off of it there, and then we put the new deck down. You can see the new deck in the right-hand picture there. But put the new deck down, caulked it up, working as hard as we could over this first winter, because I wanted to go down and salute MacMillan when we got her put together. They had broken the mainmast then when she was in Mystic, so I had to stop and make a new mainmast So that spring there we are making a new mainmast out of a 185-year-old black spruce that came from Donkey Deadwater, northern part of Aroostook County. We got the mast back in her, got her tuned up, and got through my season with the schooner. And then we decided we're going to take her down and salute MacMillan. He's 96 now and living in Provincetown down there. We sailed her down and we got over there. Of course, it was thick of fog. You know that story, thick of fog when we got to his house, but he came out on his porch. We had a little hole in the fog and he could see the vessel sail by. He was so proud. He came over when we tied up there in Provincetown and saluted us, and we had a grand time, wonderful time. I said to my son, that's my son right there. I said to my son, how would you like to shake hands with Admiral Donald MacMillan? And by gee, he shook hands with Donald MacMillan. That was a few years back. Well, we came back to Camden, of course, outfitted the vessels, painted her all up, finished working on her. It took another 2 years to finish working on her. Then we put her in the windjammer business in Camden. Orville Young and Alan Talbot were the captains at that time. And she sailed for 4 years carrying passengers out of Camden. Of course, I would use her in the wintertime. Every fall after my season in the schooner, I never could get enough sailing anyway. So I get the Bowdoin and we went off all over Nova Scotia, Cape Breton, and all down through the Chesapeake. I probably took her further south than any other man. And we had a little snowstorm in Gloucester. Spence Apollonio, the fish commissioner, he was a good friend. He went to the Arctic and brought me back a Arctic outfit, an Inuit outfit. So as we had a little snowstorm, of course, I had to put on all the gear. I never babied her very much. We sailed her quite hard. We put her up through a lot of paces up in the Bay of Fundy, up in the St. John River, and all kinds of things. She took it. She's a very able vessel, as you can see right there. Went through, after I had her, she went through a number of different vicissitudes and went on to eventually be a part of the Maine Maritime Academy. It's another great story. If you look at Reel 1, you'll realize that she was bought by the Academy under dubious circumstances, but I'll let that go and you can figure that out as time goes on. So now in the Academy, she's the pride of the Maine Maritime Academy. She's also the vessel of the state of Maine. She's very well recognized, and look at the wonderful captains that have had her since she's gone to the Maritime Academy there. And think of the trainees they have taken, trips back up to the north and trips all back to Nova Scotia. Just a great opportunity for people to learn all maritime things all the way back to the sailing vessel days. So now we thank very much, we thank Bowdoin College for this presentation. Now the next voice you hear will be Donald MacMillan's.
For about 5 minutes, we'll put in the next big reel, and then we'll go way up to the top of the world. All the lights out. 700 miles to Greenland. Each boy takes his trick at the wheel for 1 hour. Stands watch for an hour. The doctor, yes, he's there. Oh, that pleases the mothers to know I have a doctor. We've never needed a doctor. Yeah, we've never lost a man. We never had a boy ill. Little bit rough today. I said, boys, you better put on your oil clothes. And I want 2 of you to go forward and batten down those hatches. Well, last year went off the top of the sea, deep underwater, clean back to the foremast. And we lifted the 2 forward hatches, and down came the water into the forecastle. Boys, batten down your hatches, and then come aft with me. Not be washed overboard, for I've never lost a man yet in all the years. Come aft. The boy on watch. Next day, it cleared up a bit, and the boy on watch, standing in oilcloth, I said, boy, when you see Greenland, you'll see mist rising from the great Greenland ice cap. 750,000 square miles. That's Greenland. And I told the Eskimos we'd be back. And they're coming out in their wonderful little sealskin kayak, one of the wonder boats of this world, only 19 inches wide. Think of it. 19 inches wide? I wish that every boy in America could have a kayak. I said, boys, show my boys what you can do. What do you want us to do? Well, roll over on your side in the water. Too easy. No. No boy in America can sit in a boat, lie down in the water. So the boy shows my boys what he can do. Roll over on your side. Can you go all the way around? And before I could get my camera ready, I said, look, that's too fast. Come on, do that again for me. And watch him, I said, boys. No water in the boat, no water under his clothes, right side up, bottom up, all the same. And no Eskimo boy in this world knows how to swim. Not necessary, can't be drowned. Yes, waterproof sealskin coat, bound up tightly around his face, can hang head down in the water. Well, let's go away. Oh, that's Nassau. And up that fjord is the home of Eric the Red. South Greenland, don't forget, will you? South Greenland, they're coming in a boat, and to my surprise, there's not a single full-blooded Eskimo in South Greenland. There's a boy in the boat, I think, has a little Eskimo blood. Ask the boy to come aboard and sit down on near the wheel, and I want to talk with him and ask him a few questions. As he came over the rail and sat down, I turned to the boy and I said, are you an Eskimo? He said, I'm a Greenlander. Oh, a Greenlander. You look partly Eskimo. There's a girl in the boat. Looks a little bit like an Eskimo girl, and ask her to come aboard. No, she's not. The eye of every Eskimo girl is a deep chocolate brown. There's another girl I think looks more like my Eskimos in the far north. And ask her to, no. Oh, there's a boy with an Eskimo eye. Danish father. There's a pretty girl with an Eskimo eye. What is she? I don't know. You know, I think she's partly Portuguese. Partly Portuguese. That's the story in South Greenland. Not a single full-blooded Eskimo there. But every girl has a beautiful bead collar weighing 4 pounds. Think of it. Where in the world did they ever get that? Beautiful white sealskin boots put out on cold nights to make them white. Well, the fathers are coming in, been fishing all day, and they're bringing in redfish on the decks of their kayaks. And one man gives me a peculiar fish. I've never seen anything like it. He told me that he caught it in 600 feet of water. And he called it a wolffish. And I gave that one to the Field Museum of Chicago. Many kinds of things under the sea we know nothing about. Codfish everywhere. And not a book in America tells the boys and girls that a branch of the Gulf Stream goes up the west coast of Greenland as far as Disco. And the codfish coming up in a branch of the Gulf Stream. Every year it's getting a little warmer. We do not have the winters we had when we were boys. Our ships do not ice up in the summertime like they did. And you know, the last time I was up 11 degrees from the North Pole, the Eskimos are catching codfish and didn't know what they were. They'd just arrived in North Greenland. The robins are now in Greenland. Yeah, it's getting warmer every year. Just a bit warmer. Put in the codfish, nice big one for chowder for our supper tonight. Boy said, look. I said, yes. I said, the biggest ship in the world can go here, although that's not been charted. He said, how do you know? I said, look, if that berg is 100 feet above the water, it may be 1,000 feet underwater. For beneath the water, there are always 8 to 11 times as much ice underwater, in bulk, remember, in bulk. And the iceberg is my chart. Whenever you see an iceberg, hug it. Plenty of water near that berg. I have 2 naval officers on board. They said, "You mean to say we can climb the berg?" I said, "Yes. My wife climbs icebergs every summer. Has a good time climbing. My boys all climb icebergs. Go ahead, get on the berg. I'll wait for you." And 2 men from Annapolis thought it was dangerous. "Oh, no. No, tie the boat into a berg." We've tied all night to a berg. They have hard bottom shoes. No, we use Eskimo boots when they climb berg. They're having a little hard time getting around on the berg. Now look at that big hole. We may dip 100 gallons of the very best of drinking water. All icebergs are freshwater ice. All icebergs are made of snowflakes. You know all snowflakes are freshwater ice. Dropping out of the sky perhaps 1,000 years ago. No one knows. When people ask me how old is an iceberg, I don't know. The very top of it may be only a year old. The bottom may be 1,000 years old. Solidified into ice. No one knows the age of an iceberg. Come on board, you fellows. I got a long ways to go. I hear the whistle of a steamer. When they kill a whale in Greenland, they blow the whistle and go to the nearest harbor. And every man, woman, and child rushes to the beach. Why? They're going to have the whale. Really? If they help, they're going to get a part of the whale. And all together, they said, pull the big whale up where we can get at him. Yes, how fortunate we were. We were there when they brought in the big whale. Great slabs of blubber looking like salt pork. They're cutting it up into squares, putting it in barrels, burying it in salt, sending it to Copenhagen, Denmark. Denmark owns Greenland. Denmark wants the blubber. But they're going to have the meat. And for 3 days, cutting up tons and tons of delicious tenderloin steak. And everybody is happy but the dogs. And they're driven away with stones and rawhide whips. Oh, they're cruel to the dogs. My wife went to an old man. She said, "Look, we're only here for 1 day. Won't you let the dogs be happy just for 1 day while we're here and let them have some of this meat from the whale?" He said, "What? Give the dogs that good meat?" She said, "Yeah, just for 1 day." He said, "All right, let them in." What a day they had, doing the 2 things they loved to do, fight and eat. Oh, they had a wonderful day. And you know the very thing my books told me they never do? They're going to feed fresh shark meat to the dogs. And my books tell me that shark meat is poison, and they never feed it to the dogs. Well, that's just the very thing they're going to do. Oh, so many mistakes in my Arctic book. Even today, I was reading a book by Peter Freuchen. I found 5 mistakes. Arctic book filled with mistakes. The very thing my books told me they never do, for shark meat is poison. That shark is 12 feet long, the somniosus, sleeping shark. Feed it to the dogs. Let them fill up. And on we go to the great Kongodlukshuk Fjord to find out where all the big icebergs of the North Atlantic come from. The governor's married an Eskimo girl. Why not? 2 fine little children. We have 100 dolls to give away to children. What nicer thing can you give a little girl than a doll? Every girl wants a doll. And the farther north we go, the better the Eskimo. And the bigger the smile. Don't forget to smile. If you do, you'll hear someone whisper, "What's the matter with that man? He never smiles." You know, I honestly believe the Eskimo is the happiest man in this world. Their question, where are you going? I said, I'm going up the bay. They said, you can't go. Why not? Too much ice. That's why I'm going. And we're the only ship in the world ever went up to the head of that bay. That's what they told us in Greenland. Icebergs born this morning. The water under me is 3,000 feet deep. Two of the biggest glaciers in the world, the Great Umiamako and the Rink. And I'm running around in my boat and having a wonderful time. My wife is out in a little boat getting this picture for me. Conrad is bay. Look is bad. Chua is big. The big bad bay. My doctor said he couldn't believe there's a place like that in the world. I'm going up in the crow's nest, the top of the mast. I'm going to stay there. Now my Bowdoin is only 21 feet wide. I couldn't squeeze it between those bergs. Hundreds of bergs. I said, boys, look. Around the corner of that berg, there's a waterfall more than 1,000 feet high. Oh, it's bigger than that. Can't see the other end of the waterfall. And the cliffs are 2,000. And you that study geology, and I know many of you have, look, that mountain was made underwater. What? Look at the stratification, 45 degree. What, all of Greenland was made underwater? Right. One boy said, Commander, I said, what is it? He said, I can see a volcano. I said, no. There are no volcanoes in Greenland. There were once. There are hot springs there now. And the living mountain, 6,000 feet high, right ahead of the boat. And glaciers, solid rivers of ice running down the mountainside. The boys had never seen a glacier. They'd read about it. But here was a glacier. And on we go up the bay. On the top of the mast, I'm yelling to my engineer, give her everything, for it's going to be heavy just ahead. Let her go full speed. Now, I've never seen my ship break ice. I've been aboard of it. All right, I'm going to leave 6 boys on the ice. They're going to get the picture. These are their pictures. And I'll take the ship and I'll go on. They want to get a nice drink of fresh water right off the pan. Fresh water, it's all freshwater ice, floating on salt water. It's all made of snowflakes. I'll go on. Now, I have 100 horsepower full diesel engine. And my engine is turning over 1,600 revolutions a minute. But my propeller is going around only 400. Now, there's a few of you may know what I'm talking about. And they will tell you he's got a reduction gear. Right, that gives me 4 times as much power. And burning only 5 gallons an hour, I can push my ship right through that ice. And I'm carrying 3,000 gallons of diesel oil. I'm burning only 5 gallons an hour. Therefore, I have 600 hours at 7.5 an hour, 4,500 miles. That's why the government took her away from me and put her into the last war. They seized her, put her into the war, and she was up in Greenland. I was up there a year, and then Mr. Nutt and another fellow took her for a year. They were up there all winter in the Bowdoin, breaking through the ice. The boys, they want to stay there. They're going back to college and change their course. They want to know more about a glacier. They've never seen a glacier. I said, all right, we'll go right up to it. You can step on it, you can photograph it, you can touch it, you can tell your friends about it. First, a glacier is a solid river of ice. It flows almost like water. How can ice flow like water? If I pile ice up in the streets of Booth Bay Harbor tomorrow, down here on the square, say 1,000 feet high, it'll flatten right out in the street, creep and crawl and move like my mother's dough when she put it on the kitchen table. Look at the ice coming, flowing through the mountain. A dying glacier. Yeah, that'll be gone in a couple of years. All glaciers are dying. All glaciers are moving away, melting away. And when the face of that glacier breaks away, an iceberg is born. All icebergs are made of snowflakes All icebergs are freshwater ice. One of the interesting things of the world. A river of ice creeping toward the sea. Tie the Bowdoin to an iceberg, and we'll stay here for a couple of days. When I was flying over Greenland in the last war at 20,000 feet high, I found one peak sticking up through the ice 11,000 feet in altitude. And below me I could see red spots. I wondered what they were. A red spot appeared that day. My wife said, I said, what is that? She said, I don't know. I'll find out. She jumped into a boat. She went ashore, photographed the red spot, came back. We had it developed. I said, you remember that day? Yeah, that was epilobium latifolium. That's fireweed. And a little Eskimo boy sits down in a bed of flowers. Between the Arctic Circle and the North Pole, there are about 600 different kinds of flowers. And when I pitched my tent at the most northern point of land in the whole world, I slept on a bed of flowers. And where I lived in all for 6 years, the sun did not go down for 5 months. And the flowers loved the sunlight. And they want to be watered by the millions of little brooks coming out from under the great Greenland ice cap, melting away. And the day will come where trees will grow again in Greenland. Trees, 9 degrees from the North Pole. I found one of the biggest coal seams in the world. And in the coal, the remains of the giant sequoia trees. Think of it. The boy said, how high is that one? 110 feet above the water. The great Umiamako, right. Another boy said, how fast does it move? I said, I don't know, but you're going to tell me. What? Yeah, you're going to tell me. I'm going up in the rigging. I'm going to pick out a place 1,000 feet above the ice for your tent. And then I'm going to put the bow of the Bowdoin right against the cliff. And 3 of you boys jump right from the bow of the Bowdoin right onto the cliff. Here's your food. Here's your tent. Goodbye. See you in a week. What, boys? Do scientific work? Why not, boys? Study the glacier, boys. Put up your theodolite. Measure it every hour. Does it move? And you better put on all your old clothes. Your mothers will want you to wear them out this summer. Don't forget that. Mothers, yeah, I guess the boy did, by the looks of it. You are 1,000 feet above me. I'm down there in my ship. All right, you find the Bowdoin. She looks like a little piece of ice down there in front of the glacier. There's the Bowdoin. See you there? That's the face of the glacier where icebergs are born. Now, when an iceberg is born, will you tell me tonight what makes it go to the ocean 30 miles away? No engine, no sails, no power, starts for the ocean. Look, millions of gallons of fresh water bubbling up under the salt water. Beneath every big glacier there's a mighty river rushing to the sea. And that river is pushing the icebergs toward the ocean. If it weren't for that, we never could get up that fjord. And that's what makes the holes in icebergs. I never knew before. Mighty rivers rushing through the heart of the glacier. Ice melting away by pressure, raising the temperature. I have more than 200,000 feet of film, but I could never tire of photographing the most beautiful thing in the Northland. There's nothing to me in this world that compares. Beautiful, yeah, they're beautiful beyond description. And I never look at that picture of my ship, the Bowdoin, without thinking of the last lines of Henry W. Longfellow. Just before he died in Cambridge, he called for a pencil. In the morning I found written on the table, out of the darkness, up into the light, it is daybreak everywhere, right? Daybreak everywhere now, for we're getting beyond the Arctic Circle. My wife and I stood on deck. I said, Miriam, if I'm right, and my observation is right, Tomorrow night the sun won't go down. It'll come down, it'll touch the water, and you watch. It'll rise in the morning of another day. And we both stood there the next night, photographing the midnight sun. We were looking over the top of the world at the sun on the other side of the world at midnight. And that's all the midnight sun is. Peek over the top of the world, and you'll see the sun on the other side at midnight. The land of the midnight sun. And we're up in Melville Bay. We've gone beyond the Arctic Circle. The dreaded Melville Bay. Now, that's what he's called. But we've never found it dreaded. Well, why was it called dreaded? 21 ships crushed one day. One ship was turned inside out. 3 masts went over the side. The keel came bursting through the deck. Dangerous? Iceberg? Oh, no. Not done by icebergs at all. It was done by the ice that comes down through the Kennedy Channel and Robeson Channel coming from the polar ocean. And that's what crushes ships, yes, goes right through ships. The Proteus, their engine room was filled with ice, came right through the solid side in 1883. Strongest ship in the world can't go through that. Boys, tie her up. Let's watch it. Shall I go east, west, through the middle? My wife looked at that berg over there, said, I'd like to climb that berg. All right, boys, stab it a bit. Let her climb the berg. Go ahead, spend the day climbing ice. Boys, climbing. I wish you could have been with me the next 3 days. Memories, memories of Melville Bay. Winding, winding, ever winding in and out. Icebergs, icebergs everywhere. Gorgeous icebergs. Let me tell you something. The icebergs born on the west coast of England do not come south, as I read today. They all go north. What? These icebergs were born south. They're all going north. Then they go west to the Baffinland coast and south along the Labrador. We send letters home, put them in a bottle on top of the berg. One boy said, look, Commander, what? A polar bear. Getting dark at midnight, he called to me a polar bear. And because the sun is low, a beautiful golden yellow. At midnight, walking over the ice of Melville Bay. And you'll see him in just a minute. The sun is getting around into the north. See the shadow? We're headed north. Sun is in the north, getting darker and darker. Midnight's the boy coast. Boys, don't shoot. We never shoot. That's the primitive in us, wanting to kill something. It isn't fun to kill anything. We're up 13 degrees from the pole. I told the boys we're coming back. I lived over the north 6 years. 1 year on the Peary expedition, 4 years, 15, 17, another year, 19, 23, 24. I know them all. They're coming in their kayaks. Watch their paddles cut the air. I said, come on, boys. I'll let you come aboard at the next harbor. I gave her the bell and on we went. The boys trying to keep up with the boat. Stopped the ship, let him come aboard. The first boy aboard I'm glad to see, for I saved his life when he was 5 years old. I found him drowning in a hole in the ice. And I took him back to his mother, the son of the famous Utak who held one of the flags at the North Pole. Since then, we've traveled thousands of miles together, one of my dog drivers. Perfect pictures of health. Have never had a disease of any kind. Come on out of the tent, you fellows. I want to get your picture. And now, Tupimat, into the tent. Amalu, again. Tuavi, hurry up. And away they go back into the tent. The polar Eskimos, living up there 4,000 years. That little boy is well dressed in a blue fox-skin kulitak and the polar bear skin pants and fox tails about his cheeks keep his face from freezing in the wintertime. And the little baby riding on mother's back, peeking over mother's shoulder. The little baby is at school, and the only school, watching what mother is doing. And what are they eating? I want to show you what I think one of the wonderful pictures of the world. Millions and millions of the bird that's the most important bird in the Arctic, the bird that keeps the Eskimo from starvation. Can you see them? They look like snowflakes in the sky. Look. The little auk, the most important bird in the Arctic. Coming back to the cliffs where each mother puts one egg deep among the rocks. Another name is the dovekie. If we have a gale next winter, from the east, watch. You may find them right here in your street. When I was teaching at Bowdoin College, the boys brought them in their hats into my classroom. They found them in the streets of Brunswick. For when they once get down, they can't get up. The legs are so far behind them. The little auk, another name, dovekie, and the scientific name, ollie ollie. Midnight now. What's the boy doing? Dipping the birds out of the air with a dip net. What? And every time he sweeps the air, he gets from 1 to 5 birds, putting them in a sealskin bag. His food for next winter. Right. These are the harvest days. I lived up here with these people for 4 years, and I only had 2 years' food. Get your food now. The sun's going down. You won't get any food till next spring. The harvest day. Midnight. I'm going back aboard the Bowdoin to get my breakfast. The boy wants to go with me. He'll sit down in my cabin house, and if he's hungry, he'll eat about 9 of these raw birds. They never cook the birds. They always eat them raw. Yes, I would say about 1/2 of them food is eaten raw. Now, remember this. If the Eskimo did not eat raw meat, there would not be an Eskimo in the world. What do you mean? I mean, that's where they get their vitamins, eating everything raw. And when he's through, he'll wash his face with the skin of the bird. Tule. You know, that never should be called Tule. Peter Freuchen called it that, to advertise the station. That is Umanak. And Umanak, oh, that's heart-shaped, right? And the name of that place is Umanak, not Tule. The government calls it Tule. The girls are coming. Come on board. And Inget Giovanni, sit down here on the rail. I want to talk to you. And to the little girl in red, I said, look, when I lived there for 4 years, a little girl lived with us. You look like her. She laughed, said, that was my mother. Mother often told me about it. 23 women with us on the North Pole trip ship. Only 3 are left. A reunion after 44 years. On the North Pole trip, we had about 50 men. I'm the only one living tonight. We too were alive. Year before last, I think. Utak, the man who went to the pole with Peary. He's dead now. So tonight, I'm probably the last of the Peary polar trip. They're different from what they were. Who in the world ever taught them, these girls, to dance like that? They never danced that way when I knew them. But thank goodness they loved to sing their heathen songs. Stripped to the waist, body glistening with sweat, pounding the sealskin drum. They're imploring their good spirits to look out for them and keep them and guide them for the long winter nights to come. The oldest music in this world, and we're sending it to the archives down in Washington, that has come down to us from thousands of years ago. And my wife recorded it, all the songs, on tape, which we have at our home. Pounding the sealskin drum, the oldest religion in the world, animism. Everything is alive. It has a spirit. Everything. Why, it's coming out of an igloo. And these youngsters on the front seat, that's an igloo. Hole in the ground. It's made of rock. That's what they've been living in for thousands of years. And now they're lifting the igloo out of the ground under the influence of the day. They're putting in glass windows. Look. They're covering it with sod. And what do you think? I found one igloo with 2 glass windows and a radio pole sticking out of the top of it. And they all have radios. And another couple of years, they're going to have television. They're different from what they were, our Eskimos of North Greenland. I want you women to see the most northern little girl in this world. And I want you to notice that beautiful head of hair. And I want you to notice the color in the cheeks of this little girl that's never had a vegetable in her life. Never had a drink of orange juice in her life. Perfect pictures of health. And now they're going to build schools. I question the value of the school. What is school? Preparation for life. And the Danes are going to build schools. I claim that every little girl like that up there tonight is at school. And every boy is at school. Every boy must learn to snap a dog whip or he's going to starve. And to one young boy I said, "Can you snap the whip?" He said, "Yes, sir." I said, "Show me." "Gonna have a team like a daddy?" "Yes, sir." "Where your daddy's dog?" "Over there." I said, "Yeah, and where are your dogs?" "Over here, little puppies." "Daddy says I'm going to have a team this fall." "They'll be all right in September, November." On the North Pole trip, we used 300 dogs. I happened to be the first with Admiral Byrd to use the first airplanes up here. I'd rather have my dogs. What? Yeah, rather have my dogs. Airplane for discovery, but the dog team for exploration. Talking to the boy, I said, "Tell me, why did you put the bearskin collar round the neck of that puppy?" "Oh," he said, "when my little puppy becomes a big dog and meets his first big polar bear, then my little puppy is going to be a brave dog." Every boy is at school up there tonight. When he tosses a bone into the air and harpoons it in the air in 4 different ways. We play that game by the hour for judgment. Harpoon the bone in the air. Every little girl up there tonight is at school when she throws a harpoon at a mark. Amaroo! Right. That girl's at school. Every boy is at school. He throws the harpoon out of his boat. He's going to attack the most dangerous animal in the north. What? A walrus. And many a boy goes away in the morning and never comes back. I had a boy all torn to pieces in 1916 by a walrus. Even we couldn't find his body. Going to join his father and dash in a herd of whales. Yeah, that's a funny whale. Narwhal. A whale with only one tooth. And that tooth may be 9 feet long. I'll show it to you. I have one at my home. 9 feet 3 inches long. One tooth sticking out through the lip of the whale. The skin, eat it raw. Very valuable vitamin. The girl grabs it, sticks it into her mouth, cuts it off at the end of her nose. That may be one reason why her nose is so sharp. Now, the one tooth sticking out of the nose of the whale. Look. Narwhal. Fabled sea unicorn. Right. There's one tooth, 8 feet and a half long. One of the canine tooth in the nose of the whale. We're at the most northern place in the whole world, Etah. Well, I lived there for 4 years. I'm home again. Between Etah, where I'd lived for 4 years, there must be thousands of walls. Look, boys, quick, get your camera. Boys, quiet. Doesn't know that we're a ship. He thinks we're an iceberg drifting by. One reason I like to have my ship white. Everybody quiet. I see a mother walrus with a little baby cuddled right up alongside of it. I said, boys, quiet. The baby is asleep. The mother won't leave the baby. Just keep low under the rail, get the cameras ready. Never shoot. I put the bow of the Bowdoin right over this fellow. He'd never seen a ship, probably. I don't know. He looked at me only once, watching. Paid no attention. Then he turned around, said, who are you? He said, no one at all, no one at all. Scratched his tummy with his hind foot. Now, an interesting picture. I'm going to show you 54 walrus sound asleep on one pan of ice. I've never seen anything like that in my life. I tried to count them. I got up to 54. If they don't wake up, I'm going to hit that pan, or the Bowdoin is going ahead all the time. Just the momentum. I've stopped the engine. They're waking up. If they don't wake up, I'm going to hit it, and then there will be some fun. I'll swing my camera to the right, get them all in, and I'll photograph the last two. As I did that, they lifted their head. Then I heard that, oh, it must have been the cry of a lamb. Watch what happened. Look. Whoa, they're mad now. And I'm glad we're not there in a small boat. They'd rip that boat to pieces. For a few years ago, they capsized a 28-foot boat and killed 7 men. I shouldn't be here tonight. I was caught in the middle of a herd like that, alone in a kayak. Yep, they're mad. There are 2 mothers going by and 2 little babies. Watch the mothers pound them underwater with that tusk, plainly saying, get down, keep out of sight. I'll tell you. Watch. 2 mothers and 2 babies just ahead. Watch. There they are. Watch this mother with a bang. That's right. Eskimos wanted one for meat. Boys helped them get one. And all together we lifted that great animal up on the deck. He must have weighed 1,800 pounds. That's the biggest animal in the north, and the most dangerous animal. More dangerous than a polar bear. What's the smallest? Do you know? Well, I have 20 on board. They're only 3 inches long. What is that? That's a lemming. A lemming? And how long have they been up there? You won't believe it. 500,000 years. Living under the snow. The lemming. And why of interest? Every 6 years, gets together, talk it over the mountains, into the valleys, on and on and on, plunge into the ocean, and swim until they die. Why? We don't know. Mass suicide. Every 6, 7 years. What's that? You know, it took me 42 years to get this picture. What? Yeah, 42 years. What? A mother bear and 2 cute little baby bears. Never got them under the bow before. They ride on their mother's back, they grab her by the tail. That's hard. Mother's tail's only an inch long. Now, those babies were born under the snow last December. The mother bear may weigh 1,000 pounds. The little baby bears, when born, weigh only 1.5 pounds. Doesn't know what my ship is? No. She's coming back and attack the ship. That's courage. Mouth covered with blood. She bit the side of the ship. She went underneath. She bit the bottom of the ship. That's the courage that every mother in this world has. For every mother will give her life for her baby. If mother didn't do that, we wouldn't be here tonight. I had a pet polar bear, as I told you. I broke him to harness. That bear followed me just like a dog. I harnessed him every morning to a sled, and off I went to ride. And always going where he wanted to go, never where I did. But that's not the point. The point is this: I learned something that's never been known about a polar bear. Come on, Mrs. Polar Bear. Get up on the next pen. I can keep her there for a week, for I happen to get her right under the bow of the ship. Come on, Mrs. Polar Bear. Off into the water now. I've been trying for 20 years to reach this island. Why? 18 men died there of starvation. 1883, 1884. To my wife, Miriam, quick, get into the boat, let's go. No ice. We're rowing ashore. Look. We found the remains of the little hut where they died. 25 men dying under a boat. Right. There's only 7 left now. One man, his feet have dropped off at the ankle. Both hands have dropped off. And they crawled through the rocks up to where they could look towards home in the spring of the year. And near where many of them died, I put up a bronze tablet in memory of the men who gave their lives for science. And near the tablet, there were 9 frozen graves. And God did not forget them. The graves were covered with flowers. What? Way up there at the top of the world? Flowers? Yes. And a field of white cotton grass near the grave. While I stood there with a 16-year-old boy photographing the cotton grass, I heard the whistle of the ship. And turning to the boy, I said, the Bowdoin's in trouble. We ran for the beach, and we could not believe our eyes. In less than 1 hour, we rowed ashore, no ice, and now there's no water. Down came the ice from the north and out of the bay on the ebb tide. I'm yelling to the boys, bring the boat over the ice, we're caught. I never should have gone in there. I know the last ship that tried it was crushed, went to the bottom in 20 minutes. And now it's my ship. And I know she's gone. If the wind comes from the north, she's going to be crushed against that cliff. Without saying anything to the boys, I said, boys, what do you say? Let's all go swimming. Swimming. I said, we go in swimming every year. We went in swimming 200 miles north of this. How cold's the water? 3 below freezing. 29.2. Salt water doesn't freeze till 27.5. Fresh water, 32. That's 29.2. One boy strolled along, said, Commander, I'm down in Palm Beach, Florida, watching, making believe he's down in Palm Beach, Florida. I said, boy, come on and get it over with and get into the water. It won't hurt you a bit. Well, they don't know about that. Any healthy boy can jump into ice water. Any healthy girl can jump into ice water. There's a piece of flat ice off there. I have a champion swimmer from Harvard College. I have a 16-year-old boy from Concord, Massachusetts. I think the boy is as good, really. I said, you 2 boys get off there on that piece of ice, and I'll lift my hand and come on, have a race, 50 yards in ice water. Wish that I had a stopwatch. I can't vouch for it, but I think they broke the world record. Boy from Harvard got the best start. The youngster never raced in his life. You youngsters all do that. And learn it if you cannot do it. That's the crawl stroke, the fastest stroke in the world. We got it from Australia some years ago. The boys are all good swimmers. The crawl stroke. How am I going to save the ship? I'm going to keep her under a point of land out of the running ice, if I can. Without this. I'm up in the rigging every 5 minutes. I can't find any way to get out. Solid pack everywhere. Wife goes up in the rigging on the starboard side. Stayed up there a while. She came down on deck, walked up to me and said, how do you think you're going to get out of this? Well, I said, Miriam, I don't know. I may never get out. She said, that's very interesting. What are you going to do about it? I said, I'm going back into the rigging. If ever a miracle happened in this world, it's going to happen now. There's an iceberg coming right at me. The shoal ground between me and the berg. That berg is going to get caught on the bottom. That berg is going to keep the ice from crushing my ship. And believe it or not, he did that very thing. Why, I don't know. I'm going to try to get her out now. The iceberg is holding the ice away from me. In the upper left-hand corner of the picture, you see the berg on the bottom holding the ice away from my ship. Engine going full speed. I can't make an inch. No, not an inch. I'm going up in the crow's nest. I'm going to put the best boy at the wheel. I said, stand what I call hard a starboard. Put it there. Don't change it. I nearly lost the ship 5 years ago. The boy changed the wheel, got scared. And you'll see the berg in just a minute, in the upper left-hand corner. And I'm yelling to stand now, hard a starboard. Put it over as the berg, holding the ice away from me. Hard over. Not quick, the other way. And I'm breaking out in company with 3 of the biggest icebreakers in the world, and we pick up an SOS. What? Here, one of them is in trouble. Big hole smashed in her bow. I said, boys, we can go on. We don't have to go home. We may not get home for a year. But if you want to, you better put up your flag. We're nearly up to 80 north latitude. Put up your flag, and I think it's a good idea each boy write a letter home. We always do it. Put it in a bottle. The bottle doesn't rust. And in the nearest land, we'll put it on the top of a mountain, and we'll surround it with rocks. I have 8 of those now, letters. 2 written by men who died up there 63 years ago. I found 3 of Admiral Peary. Of letters under the rocks. My wife climbed the mountain. I went up and joined her. She stood beside a cairn, C-A-I-R-N, Scotch word, cairn. Said, look what I found. What? Under the rocks I found a bottle. Really? What was in it? A letter. I said, who wrote it? Well, she said, if it's of interest to you, you wrote it 28 years ago. She says, I'm going to put a letter under the rocks. I wonder who'll find it. Well, some of these boys in the front seat, they may find it. Her letter probably is the most northern letter in the world. It's up there under those rocks. Goodbye to the Eskimos. There's no word in the language to say goodbye. Listen, and you'll hear, Akshanae, may you always be strong. Or Inuvlu Aritsi, may you be prosperous, may you be well. I hated to leave them. I remember when some of them were born. In fact, one was born in my house. I said, boy, we're 3,000 miles from home, and we've got to get going to get you back to school. Each boy standing on watch for 1 hour down the Baffinland coast. And at midnight, we gathered together on the quarterdeck, looking back at our last midnight sun. Land we love, people that we love. I hate to think perhaps we shall never go back to our polar Eskimos. As you all go out, I hope you'll all feel you really learn something tonight about the Northland. May I thank you now, and may I bid you all good night.
Well, there we go. That was a great show, wasn't it? That was terrific. Let's see if we can get back to our old.
Jim, while you're doing that, I'm going to apologize to everybody. I sent out some incorrect information. We had a conversation going on the side on when this film was actually filmed, and I just lost the chat. Hang on one second. I was looking actually on Bowdoin's college library page, and it said that this film was from his 1913 exploration of Arctic regions, which somebody pointed out that Bowdoin wasn't built until 1921. So that's obviously not correct. And for the far north, a reconstructed film with restored footage from MacMillan's voyage to Greenland. The film's audio track is a recovered transcript of a lecture MacMillan delivered in Booth Bay Opera House in 1959. So I don't know why this is saying 1913 on the library website, but I apologize for sending that out earlier.
You're forgiven.
Yeah, thanks.
I remember when I was talking with MacMillan, when we were preparing the boat, getting it ready to go cruising. And I said, I'm going to take the boat back to some of your old haunts up in the Labrador lakes and around Cape Breton and all along the Nova Scotia coast. And Mac turned to me and he said, well, she'll always bring you home. And seems that way. MacMillan, all the times that he went up there, 26 voyages above the Arctic Circle, never lost a man, never hurt anybody seriously. And the old Bowdoin always brought him home. So it was pretty neat. If you look on this roster, you'll see number 3 over here, January 12th, the Arctic Schooner Bowdoin. This was the history of the Bowdoin and the presentation that we did quite a while ago. We've done so many of these different schooners all the way up through. We've done tugboats, we've done schooner cooks, we've done other captains, square rigger captains, and so on, all the way up to this January 30th now, reel 2. And the first reel, of course, there's the website for the YouTube for the first reel. So you'll be able to go back and take a look at that if you haven't already done it. We have one more coming up, February 13, The Last Schoonerman, the life of Captain Luke Kennedy. I met him in the Bahamas when I was down there chartering many moons ago. I don't know, must have been 100 years ago, but he was a fantastic man and lived a very exciting life. He owned 11 different cargo schooners. He lost quite a lot of vessels to hurricanes and to German U-boats and things like that. It's an exciting tale. And his daughter, Patsy Bowling, she's going to be joining me to tell some of the amazing things that this Captain Lou Kennedy went through. So don't miss out on that. That's 2 weeks coming up. And let's see if we can switch down one more here. If you want a good read these cold winter days, grab a drink, sit in front of the fire, and get a book. This book, Reckless Abandon. They're my memoirs and 40 years of voyaging and a little contribution to the museum, and you get a free signed copy. My God, what a deal. And, you know, most of it's pretty true anyway. We have another addendum tonight. We're fortunate in that we have the newest captain on the Schooner Bowdoin, Alex Peacock. He's with us tonight. Alex, can you unmute and come in and we'll talk a little bit about this latest endeavor of yours?
Yeah, can everybody hear me?
Yeah, got you good, loud
Great.
and clear.
Wonderful. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Captain Alex Peacock, and I am the newest member of the Bowdoin team and captain starting December 1st, 2022. So it's quite exciting.
You haven't even sailed on her yet, I understand.
The only captain that hasn't sailed the boat.
Well, you've got a great experience coming up. This will be great fun for you. You've got a lot of experience in other vessels, though. Tell me about that.
So my most recent command, I'm coming off of 4 years with a boat called Spirit of Bermuda, which was actually built in Maine, Rockport Marine in 2005. Slightly warmer waters the past years, but it's good to be back in New England. I am from Portsmouth, New Hampshire, spent my childhood sailing the coast of New England, and actually started on my first schooner in Maine aboard the Timberwind. That was back in 2009. Wow. And never thought it would bring me to where I am now, and it's quite an honor. And first of all, I just want to thank you, Jim, and your wife, Meg, and Robin, for putting this on. This certainly makes a Monday in January much better and something to look forward to. And Jim, if you don't mind, I'd like to make some fun announcements, if that's all right.
Oh, please do.
So now that I have a captive audience, this is the first group that'll hear this announcement. We have pretty exciting plans this upcoming summer, but also in 2024, summer 2024. And this was all due to COVID. Bowdoin turned 100 years old in 2021, and this has all been put off. So I'm pretty honored to be in this position, and there are probably many that deserve it more, but I will do my best to live up to the expectations. But next summer, or excuse me, this upcoming summer, June 6th, departing from Booth Bay, Maine, we're going to head out to Labrador, and we're going to sail as far north as Nain, if we can make it. And that'll be via Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, and maybe on the way up or way down, we'll do a stop at Sable Island. This is a primer, of course, for 2024, which will be officially the goal to cross the Arctic Circle, and that is going to be via Greenland. So that's some more research and planning going on behind the scenes, but right now our plate's pretty full with myself only starting in December. We have a lot to prepare to take on our 10 students to head north this summer. And it's all within the spirit of going to see what we can learn, as Donald MacMillan said. And the mission is to give these 10 students an experience of a lifetime, but learn seamanship the traditional way, culture, history, standing on a quarterdeck for the first time and maybe the last time in their career out in the elements. So it's quite exciting. And again, truly an honor to be sitting here, and appreciate you taking the time, and glad to see a great crowd. So June 6th, Booth Bay, plan to be there. It'll be quite exciting. Our departure will probably be about 12:30 with the tide. And we're hoping to drum up a crowd and some other interesting guests from vessels and other foundations. So it's all in the making, but stay tuned.
That's going to be an exciting trip. I found that just in the little cruising that I did with Bowdoin, everybody recognizes her. And you going up the Labrador shore, everybody's going to recognize that. They're going to welcome you with open arms. That's going to be an exciting trip. I see John Worth just below you there. John, unmute. Have you got anything to tell this young Alec Peacock here about the old Bowdoin?
Well, the minute I saw him, I've been meaning to get over and say hi, but that's the most amazing schooner that was ever designed. And you really get to appreciate what a great schooner it is once you clear Matinicus. The boat just is, she's designed for that work. And you can get a 15, 20-foot sea behind you and never take a teacup of water on board. She's an amazing boat. But good luck, Alex. I've heard nothing but great things about your plans, and I wish you all the best. And I'll stop over and have coffee with you sometime, and we'll chit-chat. But the boat is in such amazing shape now due to all the care and feeding, starting with Jim Sharp all the way up to the $2 million rebuilds that they've done or whatever. Wow. The boat is ready to go and do this, and I'm glad you're at the helm.
Great, great. Going to be terrific. Have we got any other captains of the Bowdoins out there? Any other captains that were on the Bowdoin? Well, that's really terrific. Okay, that about concludes it. If anybody has come up there. There we are. Anybody else has comments or anything to say? Why, unmute and jump right in here. This is the time for questions and hopefully a few answers. So anybody have anything for us? Speak right up. Don't be embarrassed.
Good job. I'm going to leave. Take care, guys.
Okay. Thank you, John, for everything. All right. Well, that's it, I guess. And we'll be signing off here. Thank you all. In 2 weeks, we'll do the next one with Lou Kennedy, and we hope you'll come and see it. So we'll sign off. The Sail Power and Steam Museum, south end of Rockland. Come and see us. We'll be open the 1st of May for the summer season. We're looking for crew. We're looking for staff. If you would like, if you know anybody that wants to go sailing, teach kids sailing, or anything else on the waterfront, why, tell them to give me a shout. We'll find a place for you. Do some good for the community there.